This is possibly something that us good people did not know, but the people who have lost their homes, they have these things called questions, which is excellent questions because typically people don't ask these excellent ass questions. This thing says that if you lost your home in the wildfire, what happens to your mortgage? Damn, that's a good question. Now, in the community, what we would be around here doing, we would tell our peers what happens with the mortgage without asking questions about what happens with the mortgage with the people who still want their goddamn money. So we would be telling each other wrong information instead of asking these questions because we think we know every doggone thing. But I'm finna go ahead on and play this video. I'm finna walk y'all down with this doggone video. Do y'all think that if your house is caught up in the wildfire and y'all done lost every goddamn thing, do you still have to pay your mortgage? Think about this. Here we go.
All right, welcome back. David Lazarus joining us now.
Laz, you have been getting a ton of questions from people who lost their homes about what happens with their mortgages and their taxes. And are they still on the hook for all that?
Yeah, and there's a lot of moving parts to this. It is, of course, a very fluid story. Let's get back to the mortgages in just a moment. First, let's talk about what's going to happen to property taxes if your home is significantly damaged or destroyed. I spoke earlier with LA County Tax Assessor Jeff Prang. Here's what he said.
We're going to reduce your assessment and your property taxes for damaged or destroyed property. There is a program, it is called Misfortune and Calamity, that requires me to reduce the assessed value of your property to reflect the damage or the destruction. If your home was completely burned to the ground, we're going to value the home at zero.
We're going to value the home at zero if it was completely burnt down. Zero. We talk about property taxes right now. Zero. Cut it down, right?
Now, when Assessor Prang is talking about property in this case, he's talking about the structure, your home, your garage, any other outlying structures that are there.
Structure means the home, the thing that you walk in and out every single day. That's what your structure means now. Pay attention.
He's not talking about the underlying land underneath. What happens with that?
Unfortunately, this reduction doesn't apply to the land, but it will affect your property. We're going to be doing this proactively, but I also want to encourage everybody to file the Misfortune and Calamity form online.
File for the calamity misfortune thing online. Rewind this and play it back to your heart's content. File the paperwork, y'all.
This is a very tricky business because the assessor told me that his office has looked at the assessed values on an average basis in the fire hit areas, and it turns out roughly 2/3 of the assessed value of these properties is the land and not the structure, which means all of those properties in the Pacific Palisades, for example, or Malibu, they're still going to be taxed at a very, very high level.
Y'all even understand? He just also pointed out to y'all that the land has more of the value than the structure. Remember that.
And let's take a look at Prop 13. Let's say you've been in your house for decades and you've enjoyed decades of Prop 13 protections when it comes to your property taxes. If your house is destroyed, if you rebuild, do you still get the Prop 13 protections? Here's what Prang said.
You'll still have your your pre-damage Prop 13 protections. So your tax base will be restored to what it was before the fire, and you can build up to 120% of what was there before without reassessment.
That's a very interesting thing because what he's saying is if you rebuild to 100% of what you had before, in other words, pretty much the same house, your property tax doesn't change. But also you can do 20% more in the form of upgrades, let's say some wood floors or something like that. So as long as you don't go over 20% beyond the previous assessed value, you're good, and your property taxes aren't going to change. If you go above that 120% threshold, you're not really going to be in totally hot water, but those extra overages that we're talking about, those will add to your tax burden, but won't take it into an entirely market-based area. And now let's talk about mortgages. A number of viewers have been asking me, do I still have to pay my mortgage if my house burns down? And I got bad news for you. Yes, you do.
Your house burnt down and people still need their money. He said your house could be paid for in full and you still receive a tax bill for the land. That's a fact. That's a fact. This is why people need to learn about tax liens. It's a real quick come up. Trying to tell you something. Well, it's not a quick come up, but if you keep buying them, and you'll be surprised when them checks start to show up in the mail. You be like, damn, I forgot I even bought these tax liens. Yeah, that's how you can get you some houses too. But we'll get into that one day. Yeah. Hey, these people still want they got their money. Rent would do on the first. Mortgages would do like on the first. Well, mortgages is like different dates and stuff like that right there. But typically it's doing the first, and they need their money. They got about a week and a half before payment is due. Yeah.
A deal is a deal. Think of it like this. You finance a new car, you drive off the lot, the next day it gets stolen, you're still on the hook for your financing payments. It's the same thing with the mortgage. However, I'm happy to say that forbearance, which is basically what a fancy way of saying deferred payments, is possible from your mortgage servicer, not necessarily the bank from which you got your initial loan, but the servicer that's now handling the loan. Contact them if you're in this situation and work out some schedule whereby you can defer payments for hopefully months, if not years, until down the road. But ultimately, you will have to pay for that loan.
So y'all do understand that this is going to be like, so how, when people were saying, but a lot of these people is rich and yada, 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 do y'all even understand? So now that's on their credit. $2-3 million mortgages that still ain't fully paid off, right? It's very, very difficult for them to get another mortgage. If they didn't have insurance, they have to pay that mortgage and then go get another mortgage. See, right now, they can't just get another mortgage. Remember we was talking about, people who is not rich think that they really, really be understanding rich folk? Y'all don't be understanding the game out here in these doggone streets. You think it's just sweet because these people just got more money than you. Hell no. It ain't that sweet. It's sweeter, but it's not that doggone sweet, y'all. You still got to pay these people.
Something we brought up earlier today, too, with this forbearance. Say they freeze it and you don't have to pay your mortgage payment. You said the interest keeps accruing.
It does indeed. The mortgage, in fact,
I didn't know that. On the forbearance, oh, Lord Jesus.
terms of the loan do not change. So forbearance means you're just going to put it off for a little while. You are not rewriting the terms of the loan.
You're not rewriting it. Shit's still stacking up on you. So if you get a forbearance and defer shit for some years, that interest just keeps stacking up on you. It just keeps stacking up on you. But they rich though. A lot of them ain't got they goddamn insurance though.
So at the end of the day,
So let's not even think about the rich folk. Let's just think about regular working people. Regular class people. Yeah, you can defer that shit all you want to. That interest still build up on you.
will get bit financially. And again, a deal is a deal, and so that's the problem. But I wouldn't be surprised, considering the scope of the problem here, if a number of mortgage servicers or financial firms don't come to some sort of terms on this kind of thing, because thousands and thousands of families are going to be unable to deal with this financial hit in the coming years.
Yes, the mortgage company is gonna have to come up with something. It's gonna have to come up with something, man, because these people is not gonna pay y'all. Well, these people not finna pay these goddamn people. They not finna pay these doggone people like that right there, especially without the insurance, man. I promise.
There's so many different angles we can talk about with you.
And we will.
Oh, talking about rental, same with rental properties. Okay, so you're lucky enough to rebuild your house. You got to live somewhere. You need to rent a house. You rent a house, but we're seeing already people are jacking up the prices on rental properties.
And remember, there are price gouging laws. Rental properties cannot go up more than 10% within 30 days of an emergency. So what we've been seeing is some properties that might have been off the market in recent months have suddenly come back. And that's not a price gouge. That's somebody just trying to get to the market value. And supply and demand says there's a lot of demand out there.
Yep.
All right.
Seen a lot of that on Zillow,
Yep.
where these houses are like, wait, what? They maybe it's a second home, and they're like, oh, well, let's put it up for rent, $10,500 in.
And keep in mind,
Area
when we
not
have
where
an
they-
influx, a huge influx of laborers to help deal with the rebuilding, where are they going to stay? And at what price? These are questions we'll have to address in days and weeks ahead.
It's 2020.
So think about what it just had. I said the rebuilders. Where is the workers who is going to be rebuilding the community is going to live at? Especially now, a lot of these people will be coming out of state and all that stuff right there. Where is they going to rent at? The hotels are expensive. The hotels is packed up. The Airbnb, they just going to raise up the prices. Where are these people going to live at? It's a doggone shame. But listen, this was a learning. This was a learning and informative video just then, because I did not know that you still live before your goddamn mortgage. I wouldn't even thought that. I'm like, my shit done burnt down, but you ain't paying nobody nothing. Yeah, we talking about? Now that shit on my credit, I can't get nothing else. This is a doggone shame. Got to be more careful. Whew. Moving right along. I ain't gonna eat much hold y'all.